What is extremely rare, but people think it's very common. Tourette's with coprolalia, involuntary swearing. Only about 10% of Tourette's patients have this symptom. Because of this misconception, I would also say that having Tourette's is more common than you would think. 1 in every 160 children between 5 and 17. Or 1 in 100 children, if including all tic disorders, according to Tourette Association of America. Successfully saving someone trapped by a fire via or entering a burning building. The mortality rate for this is really high, and fire departments have petitioned to stop showing this in movies because it usually results in another life being lost. Burglary in the middle of the night. Burglary happens most often during the day, when nobody is home. No burglar wants to break in and try to sneak around your place while you're sleeping. His biggest concern is to evade detection. It makes more sense to work in the daytime. In all likelihood, that noise you heard outside was a car or a coon or your imagination. Go to sleep. People giving away drugs to kids at Halloween. Why would they give away product they could sell? You almost never see two guys walking across the street carrying a big pane of glass. Dropping out of college and becoming a billionaire. Red hair. It only occurs in about 2% of the population. Dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities. A potential mate who is successful, smart, funny, attractive, mentally stable, ready for commitment and single, and attracted to you. Becoming a successful YouTuber. Rent-controlled apartments in New York City. Writing code that executes on first compile. Being able to make it as a musician or actor or many other creative jobs. And by making it, I mean being able to earn some serious money, or even just to make a living by just performing and not doing anything else. Most of the time, you will have to have multiple side projects that only roughly are related to actually performing, or so I've heard. If there are people with personal experience in these fields, I'd love to read your comments. Broadband internet in rural areas of use. There are only 13 advertising blimps in use around the world, yet it's so common to see them when there's a football game. Successfully resuscitating someone who has drowned. If the BBC has taught me anything, it would be murders in small British villages. Epilepsy, being fall to the floor, spaz, uncontrollably froth and all that due to flashing lights. Epilepsy is recurring seizures, and there are lots and lots of seizure types, and often they aren't noticeable, even immediately so for the sufferer. Triggers for these seizures are more likely to be hyperventilation, stress, alcohol or sleep deprivation, or stuff like that, than strobe lights. Epilepsy is also pretty common, and it's likely you go to school or work with someone who has it. In a reverse of the title. Ironically for this post though, the kind of epilepsy I have does have the stereotype. Go figure. Meteorologists getting the forecast wrong. People only notice when it happens and ignore the other dozens of days that are right on or at least very close. Having green eyes. Only 1-2% of humans on Earth have green eyes. A woman's water breaking during pregnancy. It only happens outside of the hospital like 15% of the time. But in the movies it's always the dramatic telling of when a baby is coming. Hitting a jackpot. That's why casinos exist and are hugely profitable. Heck. Late last year in my city a woman won 1.2 million just on a VLT at a local bar. Great for her. But you know it lead to an increase in people burning through their paychecks on those machines. Cow tipping. Everyone knows some kid who claims to have gone out into the countryside and pushed a cow over for a laugh. Know how many people have actually tipped a cow? None. It's a bloody great big beast, and it isn't going to let you shunt it. With the amount of cow tipping stories that exist, you'd think there'd be more video evidence of it occurring. But it's just a lie city kids tell their mates. Wasabi. You can only really find the real stuff in Japan, and even there it's really rare. Shark attacks. I live in Perth, supposedly one of the shark attack capitals of the world. Sure, we see them occasionally, but actual attacks are very rare. Being in an airplane crash. It's 1 in a million, but a lot of people I know are still more scared to travel on a plane than in a car. ROSC, return of spontaneous circulation after CPR. I believe the actual success rate is 3%. And those people are very likely to have brain damage. Media would have you thinking it's a great catch-all for any unconscious person. I'm gonna go with Trex Fossils. I at least thought they were rather common, since my local museum had like 3. There are something like only 4 dozen ever found in the world, and only about 12 skulls. Amusement ride incidents. You are more safe on the ride than driving to the park itself. The vast majority of incidents that occur are because of rider misconduct. Follow the rules, trust the operators, and you'll be fine. Vanilla. Real vanilla. There was a ton of vanilla available a couple years back, which in turn drove the prices way down. So the vanilla farmers of Madagascar and Indonesia, who are pretty much the only ones farming vanilla orchids, said screw orchids. I'm burning the trees they grow on and planting something else. Farming orchids is a real labor-intensive chore, and they are picky plants that needs hand pollination. That is transferring pollen by hand from one vine to another, which takes forever to do. Now, they are vines too, which means once you cut down trees they grow on, you can't just go oops, prices are up again, better grow orchids again. No, you have to wait until the trees they wind up into are grown. So vanilla is now scarce and expensive as heck, and it will take some years before that changes. Meanwhile, we're all paying around 3 ounces of vanilla. Everything with vanilla taste is with added vanillin, which is the chemical vanilla tastes like, but it's nowhere near the same taste as real vanilla, which is delicious and delicate and awesome. Too long didn't read boring old vanilla. Based on movies, I'd say architects. Every professional worker in movies is an architect who goes to work every day with rolled up drawings, hoping they're ready for the big presentation that will make or break their career. Autistic people being geniuses or savants. I work as a behavior therapist for autistic children. Many people seem to think that autism means a child is only socially awkward, but incredibly book smart. The huge majority of the clients I work with are far behind in cognitive development, which leads to them being far behind in education and related areas like reading and basic math. The fit guy laughing at the fat newbie at the gym. When I was fat getting into shape, I got nothing but positive reinforcement from these guys to never give up and keep going. My fat friends were paranoid people and assumed people were laughing at them. In reality, gym goers were just being social and laughing about their conversations. Toxic shock syndrome from leaving a tampon in for too long. Creating a successful business in a person's garage or basement. It's a big American myth that most successful businesses were a labor of love built after work with nothing but sweat and determination. Especially regarding tech. In reality, most were made in an office setting and simply had a better marketing strategy compared to their peers. Also, don't underestimate the ability to acquire startup capital. You can have a vision, but without the funding, it ain't happening. Miscarriage is way more common than most people realize. People just don't talk about it. Astronomer here. Total solar eclipses. Hear me out, obviously. We know that they're not common at any given point on Earth, but you'll have about one a year somewhere on the planet. So it's not unreasonable to see one, if you plan a little. But with that context, it turns out our moon is the only moon we know of that is the exact same size of the sun in our sky. Mars's moons, for example, are captured asteroids too puny to cover the sun's disk. and the further out you go the planet's moons are so big it more than covers the tiny size of the disk. So, with that, 100% of total solar eclipses, where you actually get the sun obscured and see the corona and all that jazz happens on Earth. And this effect won't happen forever either, because the moon is moving away from us a few inches a year. In a few 100 million years no one will see total solar eclipses anymore. Bedroom brawls. The vast majority of us haven't even thrown a punch in anger, let alone got the whole pub to join in with us in some choreographed mayhem. I'm gonna go with people actually eating Tide Pods. Probably just a few idiots that the media latched onto. True. Actual OCD. The fact that you like to alphabetize your closet or you like your desk really organized doesn't make you OCD. Just a clean freak. If you feel like you need to switch that light on and off 37 times or your family will die, or if you have pervasive, unwanted thoughts that disrupt your life that you can't get rid of, then you might actually have OCD. Edit. Some people are commenting with stories about themselves and wondering if they might have OCD. I'm in no way an expert or a specialist. I have a little experience with loved ones working through OCD and that's it. Talk to your doctor about it and see what they recommend. Search online for reputable organizations where you can educate yourself and find helpful resources. Get yourself someone to talk to and work with a professional about how to help yourself. A lot of people have learned how to manage it with cognitive techniques and or medication. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe,